California's 2016 ammo law is dead. You had to have a permit to get ammo. Millions now free to buy bullets without a check. Let's get into it. What does this mean for Californians with their gun? Here we go. I think what's super interesting about this storyline is that federal appeals court, they basically came up with, if you have a gun but no ammo, does that really mean you have a gun? It doesn't, does it? That was kind of the basis for that's just absolutely, breaking it down into a tiny little, insignificant bite-sized version of it. It's like, without ammo, you got nothing. But it's so true, right? It's so true. So now, can Californians just tee it up online? I need 1,400 rounds of whatever. Well, within reason, right? Because we're reasonable here. Federal appeals court on Thursday struck down California's voter-approved requirement. California, you guys just shoot yourself in the foot so often with your own shenanigans. Voter-approved requirement that ammunition buyers undergo background checks, ruling the measure violates the Second Amendment. 2A, people. 2A. Yeah. We're not getting around that. Nobody's taking guns, right? That's one of those things. America, not taking our guns. The decision delivers a significant blow to California's efforts to strengthen its already strict gun control laws. Now, when I hear strict gun control laws, I think of out-of-control gun violence, because that's usually the correlation. The stricter your gun control laws are, the more gun violence you have. That's the way I correlate it. Look at the states where you don't have all this control. You got people running around with guns. Nobody's shooting each other, because if you pull out a gun, you're going to get shot, and they all know it. They're like, yeah, go ahead, pull your gun. 10 guys will be pulling that same gun on you. You know what I mean? And here in Washington, we are seeing more and more stories about these young thieves breaking into people's homes and just getting capped. And it's unfortunate, because these kids, they are being told by politicians through the actions of not prosecuting them, not arresting them, and not incarcerating them. And we know that to be true, that it's okay to go out and steal from your community. It's okay to go out and steal from your community and then buy drugs. You can do that all day long. That's what our politicians in Washington state and other big blue communities are basically telling their constituents. It's okay to steal. It's okay to rob. It's okay to do, whatever. And then you end up with a 14-year-old with a bullet hole through his forehead, and you go, what happened? Well, cause and effect. In a 2-1 decision, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a lower court's 2024 ruling that the ammunition law is unconstitutional. It's bottom line. It's unconstitutional. Originally passed by voters in 2016, you guys are all a bunch of pussies. As Proposition 63, the law took effect in 2019 and required individuals to pass a background check costing either $1 or $19 each time they purchased ammunition. What? Oh, okay, whatever. Court concluded that the law imposes an undue burden on the right to bear arms by limiting access to ammunition, which is essential for firearms to function. That's weird. It's like if you sold, I don't know, if you sold fire trucks, as a living, you just sold fire trucks out of the box and poof, they work. But you didn't have any water in the fire truck. How effective would that fire truck be? Not that effective, right? Gun, no ammo? It looks good. And you can fake it for a little while, but until that other guy starts shooting, yeah, good luck there. Writing from the majority, Judge Sandra Siegel-Kuta argued that the requirement meaningfully constrains that right by subjecting individuals to repeated screenings before they can purchase bullets. You know what? It's the folks that have all the illegal handguns committing the crimes, right? How often do you see somebody with a legal gun get arrested for whatever? They've always got a stolen gun. They've got a ghost gun, whatever. They're not supposed to have a gun because they're a felon. That's how most of this goes, right? The case centers on the interpretation of the Second Amendment in the wake of recent Supreme Court rulings, including the 2022 decision in New York State Rifle and Gun Pistol Association versus Bruin, which requires modern gun laws to align with the nation's historical traditions. Well, this isn't even really historical. This is, my gun doesn't work without a bullet in it, which is, I got to get some buckshot. I need a reminder of that. Got to get some buckshot. I need some more firepower. I've just got a bunch of birdshot right now. I don't know where my buckshot went. Yeah, home protection. Hey, yeah, come through my door. Try me. See how that goes. I live in Bellevue. I mean, we have very little crime. It's not where you go because we didn't defund our police. And we take safety, it's important to us. So folks kind of know not to come to Bellevue because Bellevue police and detectives are going to find you, hunt you down, and you're going to end up in jail. The way it should be, right? Which is kind of weird because it's the opposite of what's happening over in Seattle, just a few miles away from me here. But then Bellevue was rated number 4 in the country of livability. Just recently. I forget what that was, but whatever. He framed it as a rejection not only of legislative priorities, but of the will of California voters. This is Grissom Newsom, a vocal proponent of gun safety measures, who approved the ammunition check law by a 63% majority. Well, yeah, because you got a bunch of libtards living in California. You just do. That's how you end up with a state that has highest inflation rates, highest gasoline prices, highest housing prices, most homelessness, fewest refineries, inability to make their own gasoline. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Because you got them 63% of you, so no more guns. Guns are bad. All right. Whatever. State officials expressed concern that the ruling could make it easier for people prohibited from owning guns, such as convicted felons or individuals with certain mental illnesses, to access ammunition. That is 100% nonsense. They're gonna beg, borrow, or steal their way into ammo. It's not going to be that hard. You know what I mean? Hey, get me a box of 9mm. Somebody's going to go down and get a box of 9mm, going to hand it off. Somebody's going to go in and steal a box of 9mm. They just are. It's not that hard to figure out. This isn't about law-abiding citizens. This is about controlling guns, which is never going to happen. Thursday's ruling adds to a growing list of recent court decisions that have invalidated key elements of California's gun laws. Similar legal challenges have already led to the striking down of bans on high-capacity magazines and certain semi-automatic weapons. You know, when it comes to high-capacity magazines, I'm kind of like, I don't have a use for one. I'm not sure that others do, other than to take out a bunch of, others. But, that right there, maybe, there's scenarios where that could happen, right? Zombie apocalypse happens, you need to be able to mow them down. At what point do you draw that line and go, okay, high capacity magazines with XYZ are okay, and these aren't? I just don't see that. And certain semi-automatic weapons, okay, I've got a couple of semi-automatic weapons, shotguns, and a 30-06. All right, right? So, it's the fully automatic ones, the machine guns. Just load it up and let her rip. Including those concerning handgun sales and surveillance requirements for gun stores remain under a review. State is expected to appeal for now. The ruling marks a significant rollback. Yeah, good. I think that's good. Have you noticed the U.S. Supreme Court has they've ruled that Trump is the victor in like the last 16 of their cases, when it comes down to kind of a partisan decision. Trump. They got that 6-3 majority. California is not, they are not having a great time. They're on kind of some bad rules. The worst rule, I think, is this whole talk of redistricting. That should be interesting because in California, that's basically illegal. You got to have this commission and all this nonsense, just a bunch of shenanigans, a bunch of numbnuts getting together. I think we should do this. And that's in response to Texas basically redistricting, so then come up with another 5 seats for Congress. I think it's genius. I think it should happen. Watching California and watching maybe Illinois, or what was the other state that was going to try it? I don't, you just left with these guys are, they're looking around going, holy smokes, the Republicans are doing work. How do we get some of that work in? Well, as a party, you actually agree to one thing instead of this massively splintered ridiculousness. Court blocks ammunition background checks, a new blow to California's gun control framework. Now look at that. There's buckshot right there. All right, buckshot right there. Good stuff. Yeah, 11s? Okay. Hey, you could put a hole in somebody else's hull of their boat with that, couldn't you? Asking for a friend? Oh, yeah. Fiberglass versus buckshot. How would that work? Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals struck down state's gun control framework. California law had forced ammunition purchasers to pass background check, was passed by voters. What were you guys thinking? I mean, 2018, before the law went into effect, a group of gun rights advocates and ammunition vendors sued to block the law as they should. So this case it's been through the ringer. Ninth Circuit then sent the case on background checks for ammunition purchases back down to the federal district court. That court, again, and that's the one we're talking about, ruled against the background checks. Given the fees and delays associated with California's ammunition background check regime and the wide range of transactions to which it applies, we concluded that in all applications, not just some, in all applications, the regime meaningfully constrains California residents' right to keep and bear arms. Justice Sandra Siegel Cota wrote in the 2-1 majority opinion. At some point in time, you just kind of go, things seem to be going in the right direction for a lot of this. I just got through with one of my podcasts, and it was how the California land grab of the Pacific Palisades. I mean, throw some, multifamily low-income housing in there. They're going to have the ability to buy lots and do that. And yet 2,300 residents in California, the Palisades, said, no, that's not what we want our community to be rebuilt as. That there's so much of this ridiculous stuff in the California government that every time you turn around, there's like, what are we doing here? What's going on here? Like last week, I think my best podcast last week was that the California Energy Commission has been tasked with trying to find a buyer for one of their really old Valero refineries in Benicio, California. They're tasked to, hey, can you go out and find a buyer? You want to talk about a tough sell? I don't even know what to equate that to. Because California clearly, with all of their policies, they've got so many policies that just basically say, we do not want fossil fuels. We do not want the development of fossil fuels in our state at all. We don't want that. We just do not want that. And I mean, the whole thing, it's just such a big shenanigan. Right? That they've got to this point where Chevron's taking their headquarters, going to Houston. Valero's closing down one of the refineries. Phillips 66 is closing down the other refinery that are closing within the next year. That constricts California's, gasoline production ability by 17%. Call it 20%, a fifth of their gasoline. And Gruesome Newsom is like, good Lord, this is really going down. We're going to have a spike in energy prices here. And this is all in the name of just ridiculousness. Oh, a cleaner environment. Really? Because now you're forced to import oil to refine, and it's coming from the Middle East. Make that make sense. Right? Make that make sense. It doesn't make any sense. But, as of last week, the Energy Commission is out looking for a buyer for this old refinery. You know what I mean? Hey, got a refinery for you. What state? California. Oh, yeah, no thanks. I'll pass. No. Because what kind of deals would you have to cut? I mean, that's like buying a teardown in the middle of 1,000 other teardown homes and convincing the buyer that it's a good idea. Oh yeah, you'll have limited, you'll have limited competition. It's going to be great. California's going to work with you all day long. No, really. California loves fossil fuels. They love fossil fuels. They don't like bullets either. Clearly, don't like bullets. And this has nothing to do with stopping crime, right? It doesn't. It has to do with containing people's rights to own firearms. And it's one more way you can do that. Americans aren't giving up their guns. Americans aren't giving up their gas cars. I just got I'm going to call my neighbor. One of my neighbors just passed away. And the wife said I could keep the Honda lawnmower. And I haven't run a gas mower for a long time. And so I allotted like 3 or 4 hours to get the lawnmower going back up again because it's been outside for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And little did I know that the husband, before he passed away, he changed the oil, changed out the spark plug, he drained the gas, I think he even sharpened the blade. And he got an electric lawnmower because he couldn't pull the start. I cranked up that bad boy. The sound of that Honda gas engine and the way it sucked up the pine cones. Epic. So don't try and take my Honda gas lawnmower. That's the bottom line here. We're not doing that. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.